Today is July 6th, 2018. My name is Tom. I'm here with John. And today we're going to be talking about the human tendency to focus and ruminate and gravitate toward dramatic things. There's something about the way the human mind works that there's something entertaining about pain. There's something entertaining about unfortunate situations. You know, like if you're watching Major League Baseball or you're watching some professional sports and, you know, a fight breaks out on the field, the kind of entertainment we get from watching conflict.
Mm-hmm. And this is related to the phenomenon of reality television and just television in general that keeps on moving towards higher and higher amounts of dramatic tension and conflict. And this isn't to say that because there are people in real situations that are highly dramatic and awful. People are struggling every day, and you know, some people have to worry about medical bills or whatever is bothering them or stressing them out, and these are serious issues. But it seems like even if someone's living a perfectly normal, fine life, there's this gravitation towards filling it with dramatic things or making small things bigger than they are, you know? And like no matter what level of suffering people are going through, there seems to be a gravitation towards making the most dramatic parts of your day the highlights of your day, or the parts that you spend the most time thinking about or ruminating about, even though it's not at all beneficial for your mind state or for your present situation. At least me personally, and I think many human beings, maybe it's just a thing for human beings, we have this tendency to worry. I guess it's a worry. It's just to think about harmful things that are happening or what harmful things could happen instead of the good things that are happening or good things that could happen. So, I mean, I guess the fact that it's just part of human biology that we're wired to focus more on the bad things that will happen or did happen rather than good things or things that would make us happy. However, I think we can intentionally change our thought patterns to disregard these useless rumination patterns. And I think the more we do that, the less we think about it. And the more we ruminate, the more it becomes natural to constantly be involved in this dramatic type of thought process. I also have the idea of drama as theater. So thinking of our lives as a theatrical performance. They call this, there's the term protagonist syndrome, where you feel like you're the character in your own story and things are unfolding in a dramatic, almost theatrical fashion. And I think this is another interesting point. It's not just that we focus on suffering, but we see our lives as if they are a stage production or as if it makes sense for this terrible thing to happen in a way that it's like part of a story, where in reality it's all just kind of random and meaninglessness, that we're alive and that some things happen to us and some things don't. But this tendency for us to kind of assign things that happen in our lives to an arc, to a storyline, I think is somewhat dangerous but also very common.
That's a good way of putting it. We tend to see ourselves as the protagonist in like a movie. There's some kind of conflict, but in the end, it's going to get resolved, and there's going to be a happy ending. It's somewhat human nature to, when we're feeling bad, something in our minds tell us that we must deserve it, that we over-assign meaning to it, or like we get the sense that it's happening, so I must deserve it. I must have, maybe I don't literally deserve it, but maybe the way I've acted has landed me here. So this is the product of my behavior. That I've earned it with my behavior.
We also, as human beings, love stories, and I think it's so hard to remember everything that happens in our lives, and by remembering the most emotionally dramatic things, it's a way of cutting down filtering out everything that happens to just some basic points. So when you're telling the story of your life, you can cut it, in a way that kind of makes sense. And also, when we tell stories to others, we want the stories to be good and interesting. So I think in some ways we edit our lives to be more dramatic as a way of selling our story to other people. You'll hear this with embellishments when people have something minor that happens to them and they turn it into a big event, not necessarily for themselves, but just to sell their story to others so they can tell their friends about this big event that happened and make it more interesting and get attention. But then that alters our own reality. It alters our own memories of the events if we're constantly embellishing them and making them bigger than they were. And this goes into the complaining thing too. Why do people love complaining to other people? It seems like this is a very common thing where we commiserate and talk about all the bad things that happened at work, all the bad things that are happening in a relationship with our friends and our partners. And not to say that's not a bad thing. And in fact, I think talking about issues that are happening within your life with your friends or people that are close to you it's an essential way to get out of that and to work through them. But it seems like there is also a tendency to go overboard and to just wallow in commiseration so much that it ends up just making it worse instead of fixing something or working through it emotionally. It just makes things even larger and more intensely hurtful than they already were.
And we don't always only complain to other people. Sometimes we complain to ourselves. Sometimes in our heads, we complain in a circular, repetitive fashion. I think it caters to a specific emotion. It provides a little bit of relief to have someone else feel bad for you, even to kind of feel bad for yourself. The way the mind works, there's this element that we deserve to. I guess it's an element of justice, and we feel it's profoundly inappropriate and wrong when we suffer. It's not untrue. There is real injustice and there is real misfortune in the world, but there's something about the way that many people's minds work that it's just repetitive, that we complain and we ruminate too long. Like after we've gotten the point out, we just keep going. It's like in a circle. It's like the brain is like on a loop, and it just keeps it doesn't want to stop. It doesn't know what else to do.
It doesn't know what else to do. But it's not only that. It's the fact that it's viciously entertaining too.
Right.
So there's the entertainment value, and I think that's also a really important, crucial piece. So the drama as a performance, as you go to a Shakespearean play, and you get entertainment from the commiseration, from the drama that's happening on stage. And I think we have a similar process that happens in our own minds, to think about the way that person yelled at us and how unjust that was, and to feel that anger, to feel an emotional swelling. That is so entertaining in a sick way, that it makes us go back and back and back and back, and until until it just becomes this overwhelming force, and we can't stop thinking about it. And the more we think about it, the more sick and entertaining it gets, because we think about why we can't stop thinking about it, and even how is that bad that we can't stop thinking about it, and it becomes larger than the original event, and then it becomes about how we have no control over our thoughts, and it develops into this almost like a self-hatred, and then, but that's entertaining too, because of the injustice of that, and it becomes like this, from, someone saying like, oh, you look a little sleepy today, something as small as that can turn into this midlife crisis,
right.
Existential dread,
right.
And it's. But I think though, if we were going to say one word to describe this whole process, it would be anxiety, and I think that happens kind of cross-culturally, of course, for many different humans. Is the entertainment value from feeling anxious. So there's anxiety as a medical issue, but then there's a sick perversion of entertainment that I think sometimes gets ignored, that kind of throws fuel into that fire.
And it's interesting that something can be anxiety producing, yet there's something pleasurable about it at the same time. There's something, I mean, it's overall, it's a bad experience to ruminate like that, yet there's something slightly gratifying that keeps us going back for more. And if only we could remove the gratifying element, then it would no longer be tempting to keep having those circular ruminations. I don't know if it's some kind of evolutionary defense mechanism, but there's something that is slightly satisfying about, it's like a form of pitying oneself.
Just saying this isn't fair over and over and over again. It's not fair. It's the difference between a toddler saying it isn't fair that I don't get the cookie, and then having a 45-minute tantrum and saying this isn't fair that I don't get the cookie, and then just go outside and do something else.
Right.
It's the amount of suffering that is in reaction to that injustice.
It's like there's a little earthquake in your brain, and you're suffering the aftershocks of just
Right, and that's sounds very close to trauma, how the aftershocks and everything.
Yeah.
You have a dramatic earthquake event, and then you have aftershocks that come after, and over time they get less and less powerful. Sometimes they get worse. But yeah, it's just I think it all relates to how our brains work and how anxiety works. I think a real key to stopping this process is realizing that it's not right, it's not helpful. And that entertainment that we get is not genuine entertainment, and it's not going to help us in the long run at all. Because I think we fool ourselves into believing that we're going to get some type of serious gratification from thinking about this over and over again.
Yeah.
But it turns out to be completely the opposite, that the more you think about it, the less gratification you get. You don't end up getting any gratification at all in the end. You just waste a bunch of time thinking about something.